You want to prove you're a real man, you play chicken. Now, two guys drive towards a cliff. The first one that stops loses. That's how I got here. I won.
I'm sorry, let's review here. You went flying off a cliff. The guy who didn't is probably laying up under your woman right now. And you're stuck here playing eternal poker with no chips. Oh, nice going, buddy.
All right, so I have a friend from France, and one day she was asking me, she was like, you know, Colin, in Europe, we don't have like these months. We don't have like a Women's History Month. We don't have a Black History Month. We don't have a Hispanic Heritage Month. We don't have any of those things. But in the US, you all have it. And, you know, you have all these months. Why don't you have a men's month? A men's appreciation, if you will. You know, I never thought about that question, especially the fact that like America is the only, you know, country that probably does months, which is, when you think about it, it's kind of like, you know, a little degrading. Like, hey, we're going to give you a month to celebrate you, and then we're going to go back to doing all the regular stuff. So when she asked about, you know, why is there no men's appreciation month, it really immediately made me realize that, like, no, that'd be kind of stupid. Like, you know, men, we don't deserve a men's appreciation month.
We? We?
Like, it's wild to say that we don't deserve a men's appreciation month, but I look at it the same way there's like no white appreciation month, because like, you know, you won. You don't get a month. Like, why would we give you a month when you have all the other months? Like, this whole thing, this is your world and we're literally just living in it. And that's the thing about men having a month. Like, after you go to the grand winner of, you know, white people, the subcategory under that is men. Like, when you think about it, white people literally just, you know, didn't mind their business and went out and colonized the entire world. But if you look a little bit deeper, not too deep, just like, you know, probably a degree deeper, less than a degree deeper, the main white people that were taking over everything were white men. Like, white women were just along for the ride. They were just like, you know what, all right, F it. I'm just go along with this dude. He brings the food and he builds houses and stuff. I want to be comfortable. Which, no fault of your own. You know, you got your Kitty Menendez going on. You know, you just stood back and just let it happen. And then white men went out there and made slavery poppin'. And then after that, white men just made the government. Then white men used the government to break up the black household. Then black men played into this. And then black men wanted to start being like white men. And then now black men are now hoteps and they like some of the worst people on earth. Then foreign men want to bring their families to America just so they can have the dream of having the power and status of white men. And that's how we got the patriarchy. A bunch of dudes trying to be like other dudes to impress other dudes. Like, it's a never ending cycle. And when you look at it in that sense, you know, like, men just always had to conquer, because it's kind of like, you know, naturally stronger, and then also providers, you know, hunter gatherers, providers, and all that stuff. That is typically associated with men. Now, I know a woman got hungry enough and went out there and hunted her own warthog one time, but, you know, the majority, you know, men were doing all that hunting. Mainstream, of course, because, you know, when I watched The Woman King, I thought that was like fictional, but then they were like, no, this is based on a true story. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know women were out in the gutter like that. Like, cool. Big ups to them. We need more of this. We're missing a lot of good stories if we would just open up a textbook every once in a while or do a research paper. But yeah, back to men doing all this hunting shit and whatnot. Like, you know, so when you're the main one putting in work, or, you know, society focuses on you being the main one putting in work, it's kind of like, of course, you're in the lead. So naturally, you're just gonna glamorize all the work you did, right? You gotta be big, strong, and tough, and domineering and stuff. That's why we have all these action movies, especially in the 80s with Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Willis out here jumping off rooftops and breaking niggas' necks and stuff like that.
You son of a bitch.
That's why every toxic dude's favorite movie is like Scarface or Fight Club, just because they want to live that lifestyle and daydream about, you know, going in and just being out in the world and just taking shit like that. That's why Trump won this last election. You got all these random little white Gen Zers who think their masculinity is being threatened just because Marvel made She-Hulk, and they went out there and just be like, yes, this is how I reclaim my masculinity, by voting for him, who's basically, once you get to the end of this video, everything that goes against what I think personally being a man is. Like, men dominating has been like this since the beginning, and, you know, it passed down from generation to generation. But when you really look at it, like, niggas are really just going off a layout that primitive niggas use just to survive their circumstances. Like, if people were talking more about therapy in the 1950s, then your grandfather probably wouldn't have been an alcoholic that beat on your grandma all the time. Or great grandfather, I forgot, the age range is getting kind of condensed now. But nobody was thinking about mental health in the 50s. polio was kicking everybody's ass and you had to walk to the library if you actually wanted to learn something, niggas were not doing that. And just to clarify, I'm not saying nobody went to the library. I'm just saying typically, you know, if you had a choice between walking 10 miles down a dirt road into the city just to sit down and pick out books and just read random information, or take a 10-minute stroll down the street to the local bar, like, you know, and get a little lit with your friends, like, you know, the temptation, the bound, like, you know, it's temptation there. Like, what you trying to do after a long day at the factory is what I'm saying. And then on top of that, women couldn't even get their own bank account until like the 1970s, so of course they had to like depend on men for their livelihood because they have no money. There was barely any jobs for them outside secretary, but then they would be sexually harassed. They couldn't say nothing about it, so they just had to compartmentalize it and go home and then cook dinner afterwards. So it was not slim pickings is all around. And then if you're in the 50s or 60s, you're literally only like barely 100 years removed from slavery. So it's kind of like that slave mentality is still there, you know, within black people, white people, Hispanic people, all that. Like the slave mentality is still there of masters and owners. And you know, men took pride in that, you know, owning their house, owning their wife, owning their kids, owning their family that's down the street too. Like, you know, that big ups you. Like you feeling yourself with all this stuff. But then when the world evolves and, you know, people get more rights and everything, you kind of realize everything you prided yourself on wasn't really shit to begin with. So now you gotta find something else. You gotta level up basically, but you know, you don't want to level up because, you know, this you were good with just owning this part. Like, you're comfortable now. Like how white people found out that everybody's gonna start looking like Alicia Keys once 2050 rolls around. Now your pride's at stake because now everybody can get what you originally, you know, placed your traditional values on. And if anybody goes against the grain of what your values were, they labeled as a bitch or gay. But when you take that mindset into today's standard, it's like,
here, big guy. Oh my God, Howard!
Niggas talk more than bitches these days. Just let that shit sink in.
men like the aesthetic of looking like a man. Like, there's a lot of men who are out here overcompensating for how they feel like society should view them as a man. Like, there'll be guys that hold the door open for a woman because, you know, it looks good. You're supposed to hold the door open for a woman. But then once they get the woman, they kind of don't give a fuck no more, and they just be like, fine, she can open her own door. I paid for everything. She can do something. I gotta make all the money in my house because it looks good. I gotta own my own business because I'm a leader. Let me get this girl so I can impress my homies because I'm a misogynist. I take care of my kids because I'm a man. No, nigga, because you're a parent. Like, imagine a woman saying, I take care of my kids. Like, the fuck else are you supposed to do? Like, guys, calling yourself high value, you know, knowing every single detail about LeBron, wanting to hang out with your guys a lot more than your girl most of the time, defending niggas you don't know, doing what other niggas tell you to do, or, you know, falling into that category of peer pressure just to impress some dudes. That is not manly at all. If anything, that's the gayest thing you could do. Especially knowing every detail about LeBron and these other basketball players. Like, look, I was ashamed in middle school and high school when I did not watch sports. I knew nothing about basketball or football. Dudes would be laughing at me because I didn't know who won the game last night. But when I think about it, why do you know how tall, the weight, the background, the wingspan, the workout regimen, the hairline that this dude has, like, or does? Like, you know all these details about this man. You examined him. Come on now, this is a little suspect if you ask me. And I bet y'all go to the dentist too. Yeah, saying for another man to put utensils all up in your mouth. You ain't slick. As you can see from those examples, being a man is like a constant state of peer pressure and trying to impress society and trying to prove your manliness at all times. One of my favorite shows is Daredevil. In this show Daredevil, Daredevil's dad is a boxer, and Daredevil is supposed to throw fights for the mob, or unless he wants to get killed or something. He gets paid for losing fights. Daredevil's dad one day says, enough is enough. I am going to win this fight so my son knows that I am a winner. Knowing good and well if he wins this fight, he's going to get killed. He goes into the ring, wins the fight, and gets killed, knowing that was going to happen. Now his son's an orphan. All to prove he was a man.
He needs some milk.
Like, dude, what are you trying to prove? This is nonsense. You're putting your livelihood at stake. Come on. Shoot, men protecting their pride and masculinity is the reason why we're going through this whole phenomenon of like, oh, you know, Hollywood's trying to take away our masculinity by having these men wearing dresses and stuff. Bro, just because you saw Martin wear a dress, which you laughed at, does not mean that you have to buy a dress unless you low-key into wearing the dresses, which is fine. It's completely fine. But let's not act like you weren't laughing at In Living Color and Martin all through the 90s. Come on now. But not for real, a lot of these guys are probably gay. So yeah, men are always in a constant state of having to prove themselves, you know, due to peer pressure and just societal norms. And you know who else contributes to this? Women. Oh, you thought it was just gonna be all men's fault. Nah, women, you play a part in this too. Like, there's a very vocal group of women who are very loud on social media that want to be taken care of. And not taken care of in the sense of like, you know, changing a tire or help move or mowing the grass and stuff like that. No. They're looking for sponsors. They are lazy as hell and don't want to contribute nothing. But how you gonna tell a dude he has to make 6 figures to be with you? You work at Rent-A-Center. Like, a lot of women play into toxic masculinity just because like men, they're kind of like mind controlled by society that like you have to be a specific way. It's like they're like the grandmas I talked about earlier. Like, you know, you have more opportunities. You don't just have to wait for a man to just do everything for you. But of course, if that's what you want, that's cool. That's your prerogative. But at the same time, it's kind of like, don't be looking for love when your first initial necessity was, you know, not working or just having a dude just do everything for you. And you can get love and you can be taken care of. Of course you can. Like, that's definitely no problem. But what are you really specifically looking for? Why are you talking to this dude? Or what are you looking for from these dudes is what you have to ask yourself. And same with guys. Are you looking for a woman just to impress your friends and just have on your arm like a trophy? Or are you looking for a woman that actually takes care of you, who actually likes you? You can't be a man in today's economy comfortably. Like, shoot, you'll be out on the street within 2 weeks. And God forbid a man shows some vulnerability with women nowadays. You'll get called sassy. There was a list going around on social media a couple years ago talking about all the things a man can't do unless he wants to be labeled sassy. Some of the things on this list was as simple as going to the dentist. Or my personal favorite, going to brunch. God forbid a nigga want a waffle at 1 p.m. with some champagne. Bro, that's why we have all these situationships and everybody just be lying and, you know, thinking like they're a good person and stuff. We're just a horrible society in general. Like, some women want all this stuff, but can't even be emotionally intelligent, you know, or mature enough to, you know, just kind of add some support. Now that I think about it, it's no wonder that a lot of dudes are mama's boys, because that's the main woman they can feel vulnerable with and who loves them unconditionally. Oh, shoot, we just made a connection.
Bring me back a fat burger, mama, on the real. Little cheese, you know how I like it.
Go in the house.
That makes so much sense now. I should go back to school and like write a thesis or something. But just remember, these people are a very loud minority. There are still good people out here, and still good men, still good women. That's just a problem with life in general. Women have to look beautiful, men have to have status. And all of that is under the umbrella of slavery. But after all that, what do I think being a man is?
I'm a man, and a man should be able to stand on his own 2 feet, make his own way like you did. I mean, a man does it for himself. I mean, it's a hard road to travel, but after you travel it and you look back on what you accomplished, you can say, I did that, I'm a man.
That's the biggest load of bull I've heard since I left the farm.
I think being a man is just being true to yourself at the end of the day. Being a man to me is not letting peer pressure get to you. Being a man is like holding yourself accountable. Be willing to say, hey, I made a mistake. That's on me. And just say how you feeling. Like, you be like, hey, bro, that hurt my feelings. Or stop being around people you don't like. If I don't mess with you like that, why are you around me? Unless we're at work. And then we gotta keep it professional. But other than that, why are you hanging with people that you know you don't like? Stop doing things just because other people do it. I'm recording this video on an Android. Everybody always asks me, why don't you just get an iPhone? I ask them, why do you have an iPhone? They say, because everybody else has one. All right then. Free thinking. I'm just gonna do something because everybody else got it. The hell I look like? But yeah, man, moral of the story is, you know, to be a man, just carve your own path, make your own decisions, and go your own route. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing everything that everybody else is doing, what good is that going to get you? And also, all these men out here that, you know, really brag about, you know, I'm a man, I do this, you know, really have to emphasize their manliness are the same ones that's scared to tell that their barber messed up their taper during a haircut. All the manliness goes immediately out the window when that time comes around.
Who the man? I'm the man. Cause I ain't spending no $4.95 on some stank skis that'll take her to the salad bar. Cause if a honey wants to go with me to the Sizzler, she gots to be all that, she gots to look good.
Nicely done.